Super Rugby round 13. Is it going to be a lucky round? I guess we'll wait and see. A few interesting games. New Zealand Derby, Blues, Hurricanes, Aussie Derby, Rebels, Reds, and then for me, despite the fact that neither of them was my team, it's the one I'm most looking forward to on the Friday anyway. It's the Bulls hosting the Crusaders at Loftus. So some interesting matchups, and I guess still a fair bit to play for. Nobody's out of it yet. Perhaps there's some Wolves, but there's not many points for teams who are out of the playoffs to make it back in. We'll see how things play out. The first one, I'll be going to this one. It's another Blues home game. It's been a wee while since they've been at home. It's been a fairly poor few weeks for the Blues. They have not had a win for a long time. They managed to get 4 in a row, and then a whole bunch of losses in a row now. So, the Canes are looking pretty with 8 wins, 1 draw, and 2 losses. Those 2 losses, again, only to the Crusaders, the only team to beat them. The Blues, they're coming off a pretty poor loss against the Brumbies. So, for the Blues, I guess, beating another New Zealand team would be a good step forward. They've only lost the one at home this season. I think that was against the Crusaders in the opening round. So, maybe that's going to be an additional factor in terms of them putting their best foot forward. But as I said, the Hurricanes have just lost those 2 games to the Crusaders. Otherwise, they've been pretty seamless. 1 draw against the Chiefs. Never really blowing teams away. That kind of yes and no performances, like the one against the Rebels last week, where they've had a phenomenal start and then just kind of pretty ordinary finish, I guess, is the Hurricanes season in a nutshell. But they've been winning, and that's all you need to do really to be right up there. I think in any other conference they would be top dog, but just they're in New Zealand, so they've got the Crusaders to contend with. In terms of the teams, the Blues have made a few changes. Tui Nukuafe starts, Parsons and Tuangafasi, so that's an all Black front row, despite the fact that Parsons is a long time between drinks since he's been an All Black. Tupolotu starts this week as well. Josh Goodhue partners him in the second row. Papali'i is playing on the blind side this week, but at least he's starting alongside Gibson, so at the breakdown they should be a pretty good threat. Akira Ioane is at number 8. Harry Plummer gets the nod ahead of Otiri Black. Black perhaps not his best couple of weeks recently, so they're switching things up with Plummer. I guess a key man, Rico Ioane, is back for the Blues on the left wing, so that's good news. He has been, as always, one of their best players. Nonu Whaiane in the midfield, Telea on the right wing ahead of Duffy, who's on the bench, and Nanai, who's probably having his best season in blue, continues on at fullback. For the Hurricanes, minimal changes. Good changes as TJ Perenara comes back at number 9. I believe Judd is injured, so Finlay Christie is the backup number 9 there. Ben Lamb is also back, so that relegates Chase Tiatia to the bench, and Toby Smith gets the start at loosehead. So the reserve front rowers are Riccatelli, Armstrong, and Hilden Hayes. The bookies for this one have got the Canes by 6. Based on their record, you would have to say that they've got double the wins that the Blues have got. Recent record over the Blues is very good, so there's no reason the Blues should be winning this one, although the fact that they're at home and having a fairly decent season there perhaps gives them a shot. I'll be happy if the Blues get a win for this one, but I'm definitely not holding my breath, and I say that as a Blues fan. So we will see. If it's a good game, I'll be happy if they can get a win. I'll be very happy if they can get a losing bonus point, the Blues, which the bookies say they should. I guess I'll take that. But in terms of playoffs, it's time to make a move. Blues realistically really need a win. The next one, the Rebels hosting the Reds. So the Rebels are first in the Aussie Conference on 24 points. The Reds are third and they're on 22. That's how tight that conference is. You can see they've both got 5 wins and 5 losses. So there's not a lot separating the teams in that conference. Again, some Wolves are a bit of an exception there. The Rebels have been in pretty ordinary form. It's been a long time for them to get a win as well, despite kind of starting the season strong. It's a similar story to last season. So back home, they need to get a win. Against the Aussie Conference teams, they're traditionally, at least since Dave Vessels took over, they've been pretty good. So, yeah, they will definitely be backing themselves to get a win over the Reds. The Reds are on a decent run. I mean, they started the season poorly, kind of the opposite, and they've kind of come semi-good. Although they got a win last week over the Sunwolves, it was a pretty ordinary performance. They had the man advantage for quite some time and weren't ever really able to put the Sunwolves, who are languishing at the bottom of the table, they weren't able to put them away. So if they're going to go down to Melbourne and get a result, they will need to step things up for sure. The Rebels, a few changes. So Hodge moves from 12 to 13. Billy Meeks comes in inside centre or second five. There's no Tom English this week. Luke Jones is out from lock into the back row, and Ross Haylett-Petty starts in his place there at lock. But other than that, it's pretty much the same team. So you still got Guinea, still got Cooper. Dane Haylett-Petty's captaining at 15. He looked a little bit rusty last week, so hopefully that match, against the Canes will have increased his match sharpness anyway, and we'll see the best out of him. For the Reds, really minimal changes. The only changes are JP Smith at loosehead and then Angus Blythe at lock in terms of the starting 15 anyway. Other than that, it's pretty much the same team. So Paenga-Mosa is still behind Mafi at hooker. Salakai Loto is relegated to the bench. He's going to be an impact player though, so yeah, I don't think the Reds are losing out a whole lot with him being there. So, yeah, it's got the looks of a pretty cracking game about it. I'm hoping it's not going to be kind of error-ridden. There's been a little bit of a tendency, I guess, I don't know if I'm being unfair to the Reds. Some of their games have been a bit ugly, but then, like, if you look at that game, was it the second half when they played the Sunwolves? They had a really ugly first half, and then they just switched it on in the second half. They started getting offloads galore and started playing with some real skill and looked really slick. So if the Reds can play like that, and then the Rebels can get Guinea and Cooper going, it could be a real cracking game. So let's hope for that. Let's hope it's not too many handling errors. And to be fair, it wasn't just these teams. Last week, a fair few of the games lacked a bit of finesse, and at times were a bit handling errors, penalties, and whatnot. So yeah, I'm optimistic that one's going to be a good game. But that being said, the game, it's on at like 5:10 in the morning here in New Zealand, but I think I'm still going to get up and watch it. I don't want to risk being spoiled, because recently when I've been watching the overnight game, when I get up in the morning on like a delayed broadcast, I've been getting spoiled to the results. I don't want to get spoiled for the Bulls and the Crusaders. I should say for that Rebels game, by the way, it's Rebels by 10, what the bookies have got in terms of the pick for who's going to win it, so reasonably comfortable. Bulls Crusaders though, the Crusaders, apart from those two games, the loss against the Waratahs over in Australia and then the draw last week against the Sharks at home, the Crusaders have looked a level above everybody else. But those two results, still show that the competition does have a chance for an upset. The log overall is looking very, very tightly packed for a lot of teams. I mean, the Bulls are first in South Africa on 28 points, so they're ahead of the likes of the Reds and the Rebels. Still behind the Canes and still behind the Crusaders, who are at first overall on 42 points. That's what I mean about them being a level above. But, yeah, they've travelled to South Africa. It's their game at altitude, so there's a couple of things in the Bulls' favour there. The Bulls are doing a sale of tickets for like 20 Rand. Trying to get the crowd up, because last week's crowd was a wee bit disappointing. Dwayne Vermeulen had a part in that, so yeah, I'm hoping good crowd, travel factor, altitude factor. Maybe the Bulls can put on a bit of a show and really give the Crusaders a run for their money. I'm hoping it's going to be a good game. Lineups, Bulls have got Brits back at hooker. Jason Jenkins coming to partner Sneyman in the second row, so that's a very good lock pairing. Kirsten's moved into the back row from lock. Dwayne Vermeulen's still there. Andre Warner starts at number 9, so Papier's on the bench. There's no Fansale this week. Johnny Kotzer has moved to 13 from 12. But otherwise, it's a pretty stable lineup for them. The Crusaders, I think the forward pack is unchanged, but Mo'unga is back at number 10, so that's a very good news for the Crusaders. Not that Mitch Hunt didn't have a good game. He ended up, saving their graces with a try and a conversion right at the end of that Sharks game. Good news is Crotty is back at number 12. He's back from a week off, I think, resting his head. Goodhue then moves out to 13, and Havili starts at fullback. So you've still got Mitch Hunt there on the bench. Braden Enor's on the bench, and he's having a phenomenal season. So, yeah, that game looks like it could be dynamite. I hope so anyway. I hope it's not one-sided. I hope it's a close contest. Whoever wins it, I'm not really fussed. Crusaders by 8 is what the bookies have got for that one. But, yeah, I'm hoping for a good game. So, yeah, 3 games. Only the Rebels are the hometown favourite in terms of the bookies. The Hurricanes and the Crusaders otherwise expected to get the wins. But, yeah, important for the Bulls to get a win in that South African conference. Important for both the Rebels and the Reds to try and strike out in the Aussie Conference, and the Blues need to remain in touching distance. Realistically, the Crusaders and the Hurricanes could drop a game away, and it still wouldn't be, that bad for their season overall. But yeah, they're not teams likely to drop games, given that each of them has only not won 3 of their games, and for the Crusaders, one of those was a cancelled game. So yeah, you guys let me know your thoughts on these games. How do you think they're going to go? Do you see any upsets on the cards? Do you see the Bulls perhaps doing one over the Crusaders? Can the Reds find some form? I guess continue their form and put one over a slightly out of form Rebels team who did well to come back against the Hurricanes last week? And can the Blues get another win over a New Zealand team? We will see. You guys let me know your thoughts. I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.